So we're ready to go. So, hi, this is Isabel. I have been promoting this for the last couple of days that I was going to go live tonight with Isabel. So for those of you who don't know, I'm Paige, obviously. I am the owner and founder of Main Paige Media. So this is my video production company that I actually started almost exactly a year ago. Main Paige Media got recognized with the state on March 6th, 2019. We're based out of Somerville, and I have Isabel Strobing here with me today. She is one of my former clients turned great friend. She's brilliant and has so much to say about women in business. I'm so excited to have this conversation with her. I've had this idea for a while to do these lives with my clients and with some people that I've collaborated with and learned from over this past year, and I figured there was no better time to do it than Women's History Month. So March is Women's History Month, if you didn't know. So this is the first week of Women's History Month. And Isabel, if you want to introduce yourself, tell people who you are, what you do, and a little bit about Mainvest.
Sure. So yeah, I am Isabel. I'm the community manager at Mainvest. I will get into what Mainvest does, but it's exciting for me because I have lived in a lot of different places. I'm the daughter of small business owners, and so Mainvest mission really aligns with kind of a lot of things that are important to me. So the reason I say those specific things, Mainvest is a small business investment platform. We're based up in Salem, Mass. So basically what we do is empower small business owners. So if you think about brick and mortar business owners, kind of your everyday neighborhood entrepreneurs, we allow them to raise capital directly from their community. So prior to 2016 and passage of Title III of the Jobs Act, to get all wonky for you guys, that wasn't possible. Non-accredited investors, aka everyday people, couldn't invest in small businesses in this way. So through portals like Mainvest, we allow kind of both things to happen. We allow small business owners to access the capital that they typically struggle to access. And we allow everyday people to become investors in their community, build wealth in a way that wasn't possible before. So coming from a family of small business owners, living in lots of different communities, across the East Coast, this is something I'm really passionate about. So I'm excited to work with Mainvest on a lot of different initiatives, mostly relating to kind of marketing, communications, and anything else that needs to get done. And kind of working with investors, empowering investors, educating investors, as well as working with small business owners too.
Awesome. Yeah, I love the idea behind Mainvest. And when I first met you guys and had that call with you and Nick, who's the CEO and founder, talking about how the only reason that this didn't exist before was because of the legal issues behind it, and that it just couldn't exist before, because I was like, why hasn't anyone thought of this? And it's just such a brilliant idea. And it's I feel like such a positive way. There's so many crowdfunding sources out there, but to feel like you're actually part of it and you're going to get a return on your investment makes you feel like you're like a micro partner, right?
Exactly. Yeah. It's like the closest thing you can get to feeling like you have ownership in a business without actually having ownership.
Yeah. Yeah. I love that. So Isabel and I met working on video together for Mainvest, and I will throw that down in the comments. I actually copied the link, and then you know what I did? I copied something else. So I got to go grab it again. But we worked on a video for Mainvest, and for me, this was a totally different piece of content than anything that I had ever done before. It was scripted. It was funny. We had to hire actors. We had to get costumes. We were in a studio. Like, it was just totally different than my usual. And Isabel was like, I don't care. You can do this. You can pull it off, and totally put all her faith in me, which was amazing. I am so eternally grateful for that. I will throw this video down in the comments now. There's a YouTube link there. Hopefully it's the right one. Okay. So tell me a little bit about, what made you decide to invest in video for Mainvest? What kind of made you make the decision to make that jump? Because I think a lot of startups are iffy about, using video and getting their brand out there and doing something that is pricey in some regards.
Yeah, I mean, we've been going back and forth on it for a while. And as you know, we had a couple different ideas, probably three. We made you come up with three different proposals for us because we wanted something more traditional, kind of bite-sized versions of traditional, kind of video business cards or something like that, just to explain what Mainvest is. Because the issue is we're not only trying to inspire people, we're trying to educate an entire marketplace. A lot of people don't realize that we can do what we do, and that it's an option, both on the investor side and on the small business side. So it's really hard to just through traditional content explain all of that. It's a good challenge to have because it's so exciting, but there's a huge education piece that has to go into it, in addition to doing the things that every startup wants to do: inspire, talk about why you're different, and engage people, and eventually get them to trust you and spend money with you. So we decided that video was going to be a great way to do that, but we were going back and forth because we weren't sure exactly how to tell that story. And so really for us, we just wanted to be different and take the leap. And so instead of doing something traditional with more of an interview setting, which we'll probably come back to Paige for because we've seen so much of her other work, we decided to go with something that was a little bit more viral and scripted, something funny and unique that in pretty much 1 minute was going to get people's attention, because it's hard to do that in this world. And somehow, again, within that 1 minute, educate people about the ability to do this, and then get them excited about it at the same time. And so, some members of the team had kind of come up with this crazy idea before I had even started, brought it back from the dead, and we're like, okay, this is some crazy idea we have, but what do you think of it? And I was like, I think this is actually pretty awesome. So I went and found a videographer. I found Paige, and I was like, all right, so we have these ideas, but we also have this totally crazy idea. What do you think of it? And that's the great thing about Paige. She was like, I don't know, let's go for it. And so it was so worth it. Obviously really new for all of us. None of us had ever worked on a video before, so it was new for all of us, trying to get Nick, our CEO, to like memorize the script and like get our actors and our extras who one of them couldn't even come in traffic, so I had to jump in, and it was a crazy experience, but it was a great learning experience, and it did exactly what we wanted it to do, in terms of make something that's funny and that's entertaining, but also educates and excites people about our mission.
Yeah, I mean, that leads right into my next question, which is, what kind of response have you gotten from the video?
It's been really good. People are excited about it, I think, because they don't expect to see something like that, because it's kind of out there. I think people would expect to see, something, more traditionally produced, if you will, with, interview style. But because I think it was unexpected and really unique and kind of showcased our personality as a brand, people were excited about it. I think it was refreshing, but I think they also just thought it was funny and cute and different, throwing breadsticks at someone's head and popping a balloon. Like, it was just, I think people appreciated that it was different.
Yeah. I think what was so fun about it is that it kind of takes away the like boring idea of investing. Like, I know when we talked to Nick, he was like, I don't want you to think of, when you think of investing, you think of a guy in a monocle. Like, you think of something stuffy. And then the piece that we produced was like, it wasn't stuffy. It was fun and it was full of personality, which, just like, having met not all of you, but the number of you that I have met, like, that's the vibe at Mainvest, and that's the vibe that like people should be getting. So like, I really loved that. And I mean, when they came to me with the script, I was just like, this is actually really good. And I think that's kind of rare. I think it's kind of rare that, a team can come up with their own script and it actually is something that works. Because generally, like, I don't want to knock copywriters or comedians. What they do is so incredibly valuable. And so I think it is a little difficult for someone to just come up with an idea that really hits the nail on the head. So that was like so impressive for me, the more I talked about this project.
Yeah. I mean, anytime we approach content, we just try, the first thing that we do is just think about the way we talk about it, because the way we talk about it and the way we talk about investing and, the state of small business funding, we can talk about it in like the traditional terms. But more than anything else, we just talk about it the way we talk about anything. And so when we approach content, we like to think about it that way first, obviously, then polish it up a little bit, because we have a way of getting ahead of ourselves and sometimes saying inappropriate curse words, if you will, like Paige and I were saying before this video started. So
we were going live and I was like, I hope I don't swear.
Yeah. So, but that's the way we approach it, because we think that that's going to resonate with other people too, who, aren't super familiar with something like investing.
Absolutely. Yeah. And I think it's something that it's fun and you want to watch it. And then once you're done watching it, you want to learn more. I think that's kind of the response I've gotten from people where they're like, oh, wait, that was like, you told me about this weird breadsticks balloon popping video that you did that your dog was in. But like, like, then I watched it and now I want to know more about Mainvest. So I thought that was really cool. We had a question come in. So we're going to.
Oh, hey, Melissa.
That's your friend. So Melissa said, I hope to see Mainvest do something similar. Or sorry, the video was awesome. I hope to see Mainvest do something similar in the future. That was Mainvest. Do you think humanizing the people behind the brand is key for success that more companies should utilize? So, I mean, I obviously think so. That's kind of why I do video. I definitely think that humanizing the people behind the brand is the key for success. I always tell people, like, if you're in a service-based industry, products as well, like learning the story why behind a product, but especially for service-based professionals. So something like Mainvest, it's a service and a product kind of, but like it's not concrete. It's not just like, I don't care who made this hair care product, I love it. It's more, I have to trust you guys to actually do everything you can to help promote these businesses so that my investment will go somewhere. Or I have to trust, if it's anyone that is a service-based professional, you have to really know, like, and trust. Those are like the keys to sales. And there's no better way to do that than video.
Yeah, no, and I agree. And that's the biggest thing I think that we've seen, because at the end of the day, we can explain what the investment is. We can explain how it all works in financial terms. And for some people, that's going to be enough. But for others, it's just not really going to move the needle for them, because most people don't have a solid understanding of these things. But what they do have a solid understanding of is the basics of getting involved, the basics of what a potential ROI could be. And that's for some people. We have plenty of educational materials, and please read them before investing. But for most people, what they really care about, and what we've heard time and time again, is like, I invested in this business because I care about having this type of business in my community, or I know the owner already and I believe in them. So why aren't we uplifting those stories instead of saying, like, and I'm not to knock any other financial brands, but just talking about, I don't know, basically using the jargon.
Yeah.
Maybe that works for some, but for us, we just have so much more to offer that I think it's a lot more effective for us to uplift those stories rather than just kind of get stuck in the weeds of all of the investy stuff we do.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it's like Melissa said, like, it's humanizing people. You're seeing a name and a face behind a brand. It's not just a brand.
Yeah.
So we've talked a little bit about, and if anyone has clicked on that video, we've talked a little bit about how your CEO is Nick. So Nick is a guy. Mainvest is not a women-owned business. But you were my point of sale this whole time, and I loved the free reign the guys at Mainvest gave you. I have this funny moment where, like, anytime I talk about how great Isabel is, I say that there was a moment where I showed Nick something on our screen, a playback. And I said, do you like it? And he said, well, do you like it? And I said, well, you're the client. He said, no, Isabel's the client. Ask Isabel. Like, put all his trust and faith in you. And I love that, because it's just like they brought you in. And I think everyone should have managers like that who just like have all their trust in your own expertise. And Nick also kept saying something like, know what you know, to me. Like, he was like, hey, I trust you to do this video, know what you know. And that's like an ideology that I really love.
Yeah. Shout out to Nick.
But
thanks, Nick.
Yeah. Shout out to Nick. I will give a big shout out to Nick. But you have done a lot to kind of transform Mainvest to also have an emphasis on women-owned businesses. I mean, I've seen a lot of communications from you. I know that you've gotten involved with the Boston women's market. But I also know that when I first met you, you were the only woman in the office. Mm-hmm. So just like tell everybody a little bit about that, because I just think it's so badass. And that is a swear word, I will say.
Yeah, I think the easiest thing to say is that it wasn't that big of a lift, because yes, the office is largely male, but it's made up of a lot of really awesome guys that care a lot about empowering women, about making the world a more equal place. And that's been true from day one. And that's been a part of Mainvest mission even before there was a woman on the team. The reason that this change in regulations, the reason that Reg CF is so powerful is because it can uplift entrepreneurs that have historically not had a seat at the table. And that's been something that I know the co-founders were thinking about from day one. So even though there wasn't a woman on the team, it's still been important to Mainvest as a whole. Well, we always wish that there were more women from the start in a startup. It's getting better. But yeah, it's not really a challenge, again, because I work with an office full of like amazing men, but being the only woman obviously has unique challenges, and it just brings a different perspective. And so it has been really important to me to be really active in terms of being loud and proud about Mainvest's ability to uplift women entrepreneurs. And it has been more of a personal mission of mine to empower women investors. Again, these regulations are made for everybody. Mainvest is made for everyone. And that's been true from day one. And even if I was never hired, I have full faith that, Mainvest would still, work towards those goals of equalizing investment and small business ownership. But it's important to me as I see, the current stats on who our investors are and the current stats of what investing looks like in general, that I use this opportunity and my platform to empower other women. Because the truth is, the reason that we have fewer women investors is because everyone has fewer women investors, because society is broken when it comes to teaching women about money in general. It's a huge issue. It's a greater issue that we could spend probably hours on. So I'm happy to kind of sum up my thoughts on it pretty quickly. But yeah, the truth is, the pay gap exists, the wealth gap exists. The pay gap and the wealth gap are worse for women of color, and very little is being done to change it quickly. So with less money to go around for women and more institutional barriers, like women still having to stay at home, childcare not being paid, larger student loan debt, larger credit card debt, and also society teaching young girls. And this is where I actually really admire Sally Kruchek at Ellevest. They're kind of like more of a macro investing platform where we focus on kind of the micro. She talks about how girls are taught about coupon clipping and budgeting, while men are taught about, or little boys are taught about, growing money and investing. So from a young age, women are taught to be reserved with money, whereas men are taught to be ambitious with money. So you put all of this together and you get women, showing up to our booth at Boston Women's Market and saying, investing, is that like a 401k? That's not for me. What? It's $100 and you can support a dope woman-owned business. How is that not for you? But it doesn't feel like it's for women, because society has taught women that like money is an icky topic and investing isn't really for them. So that's why it's something I'm super passionate about, and I'm taking the opportunity with Mainvest specifically to engage that demographic.
I mean, that was something that when you first told me that ideology behind like women are taught about coupon clipping and budgeting for the house, and really that's the kind of thing that you're taught growing up. I mean, even I know my mom is watching here. Hi, Mom. And my mom is a CPA and definitely taught me great saving and like a lot about how to use my money. But I mean, even something that like I learned growing up that I don't even think my male counterparts thought about was like when you go to the supermarket, look at the like unit price to find something that's cheaper. And that was what like I learned about money. And not to say that, again, Mom, not trying to knock you there. Hi, Mom. And not to say that my mom didn't teach me a lot about those things, but it's something that like I've gone shopping with like my male friends, like especially in college when there was like one of us that had a car that could go to the supermarket. And it's like, they're like, which one do I pick? I'm like, well, this one, obviously it's cheaper and it's the same product, and just things they didn't think about. But on the flip side, like I don't think about investing. That's totally something that is scary to me. And if that's inherent to me or if that's inherent to women, which, I mean, you were just really eye-opening for me when you said that, that is kind of how we learn, and the way that we don't even notice that that's how we're learning.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. And something else that was awesome that you did say in there, just kind of going back to, you being initially the only woman at Mainvest, and there's another one now, and you're a small team, so that's still a good ratio. But I love the idea of, and how you really highlighted that like men as allies. I think so often that I talk about how I really love working with women-owned businesses and I love working with other women. And I mean, to date, all of my clients, with the exception of Mainvest, have been women. And I mean, you were my point of contact at Mainvest, but I recently a friend of mine said, "Oh, did you ever work with that guy?" And I was like, "Nope, all my clients have been women." And it's intentional and unintentional. It's a little bit of both. I love working with women-owned businesses. It's something I'm passionate about. And it's something that, with my past experience working at a women's college for so long, kind of just became second nature to me, being in that sector. But I will get questions like that sometimes where it's like, "Oh, so you won't work with men? Like what?" And it's not that I won't work with men, and it's not that we hate men for supporting women. And I just like hate this argument so much.
Yeah.
where there's men who are great allies. One of my friends said something recently today. She actually has video in Virginia. So hi, Megan, if you watch this. But she talked about how everyone needs your services, but not everyone deserves you. And that if you get into a position where someone is treating you like, little girl, you can't do this as a woman, then you just don't, you can walk away.
Yeah.
Like, refund, walk away. I never ever felt that with all the guys working at Mainvest, which was amazing. But this kind of leads me into, and I know I gave you some questions ahead of time, but this is one that I'm jumping ahead to just because I'm in this train of thought right now. I know that when I asked you how you found me, you had told me that you pointedly were looking to work with a woman on this project. And I know some people might feel, well, why not look for who's best for the job as opposed to like pointedly looking for a woman? That's like the counter argument to this.
Right.
So like, what was your motivation behind that? And why did you seek that out yourself?
Sure. And I will say, I hate the argument like that. Oh, but what about who's best for the job? Because like women own businesses, you know, minority entrepreneurs have so fewer options to even have their face out there that you have to seek them out in order to have a representative group to find the best person for the job. So I hate that argument, because if you're just going to find the best person for the job in a set subsection of potential vendors, chances are they're not actually going to be that representative. So I feel like you probably feel the same way. So I did seek out a woman because I just think it's important to make sure everyone has a fair shot. I also, you know, I work with a bunch of guys, and I figure every now and then, why not take the opportunity to uplift a women-owned business and work with women-owned businesses, just again, to just make the world a slightly more equal place. You know, 30 years ago, there might not have been a women-owned videography like studio. So, you know, why not give Paige a seat at the Mainvest table? You know, we're a small team, but, you know, that's kind of the way I think about it. I did find the best person for the job. And if I had just kind of gone out into the world, sure, maybe I would have found Paige, but I also probably would have found a million other, you know, of the same, you know, white male owned, you know, videography studios. So that's the way I approach it. It really just goes back to the argument that not everyone has had the same seat at the table. So you're not going to be able to like find a women-owned business unless you seek it out. And there's nothing wrong with that. And also I saw Paige's work and did feel like she was the best person for the job. So I guess that's kind of a rambling answer, but it's because it is important to me as well. And maybe every now and then you need some girl time when you're in a super male dominated office. I don't know.
No, I think that's super valid. And I mean, for me, I actually didn't really realize, people had told me that film was a male dominated industry, but it was not something that was apparent to me, because my first job out of college, I was at WGBH. I was working for the Antiques Roadshow, and their executive producer is a woman. And she is a badass, kick-ass woman. And so the office was, I think, fairly split between men and women. I didn't feel like there was a gender disparity. And then my next job was at Simmons University, which is a women's college, and it's a lot of women that work in the marketing department. I was the only one in video, so I couldn't compare myself to the alternatives. So I didn't really notice that. And even in college, in my internships, I interned for a female executive producer in LA. I interned, you know, with a lot of women who were kind of kicking ass and taking names. Yeah. And I didn't notice how male dominated it was. And my like eye-opening moment was I actually went to this open house for this company, which I love this company. I took one of their courses, but it was Future Media Concepts. And I took a course from them, loved them. They opened new offices and had an open house for people to come and learn about color correction and a little bit about Photoshop and Premiere, and just, you know, kind of, it was like a free crash course for people to come and network. And so this was before I'd left Simmons. I went after work one day, and I got there, and it was me and one other woman in the room, and everyone else was a man. And I sat in this room feeling so different. And I think I'm fortunate as a white woman to not feel that very often. Yeah. But it was striking to me, and I didn't realize how male dominated it was. And then, you know, I took a course on how to start your own video business, which is, shout out to the video warriors that are watching this right now. I know there's a few of you. Awesome course, led by two men, predominantly men in the course. And it was, everyone has been so positive and inclusive, but I didn't necessarily realize that it was a male-dominated industry. So now that I know that, and it's become so apparent to me, I also make a point to work with other female filmmakers. Like, I hire people to be on my team, and I do my best to work with other women, because there's just so few of us that are actually doing this, which is it's just crazy.
Yeah. That's why I noticed when you were talking, like, you've only worked for like super like badass women. And I love that. But also, why does every woman have to be a badass woman when there's so many mediocre men? Not to say, again, like, I feel like I'm like trying to sound really like mean, but it's true. Why, you know, in you give me an industry and it's just like, oh, yep, they work in it. But when a woman has to kind of like, she needs to prove something. She needs to be a badass. And I think until we, you know, that's not equality quite. It's, you know, they're there. I think that we're facing less and less, you know, blatant discrimination in some industries, not in all. And so until we get to the point where it's like, yeah, okay, cool. I had a boss who happened to be a woman and she was fine. That's when we'll have equality, because we've all had bosses like that.
And she was fine. Well, I think it is something too now that when you work for a female boss and they're amazing, it's just like you can't help yourself, right? But talk about how great they are, because you want to almost prove to the world that you can also be amazing.
Yeah, exactly.
If anyone has any like questions for Isabel or questions for me, please feel free to throw them down in the comments. We are kind of keeping an eye on those. It doesn't have to just be a conversation between me and my mom, because she's commented 3 times. All respect to you again, Mom. Love you. But if anyone has questions or comments to Isabel about Mainvest, or to me about video, or if you just kind of want to chime in on this conversation about equality in the workplace, I mean, I think it's something that we've made like leaps and bounds in, but there are like little spaces where you can definitely see that it's not happening. Yeah. Can you tell me a little bit about some of your favorite women-owned brands that are on Mainvest right now that people can invest with?
Ooh, that's a good question, because we're launching so many new businesses all the time. So first, I want to shout out one of my favorite women-owned businesses that already raised, because I'm thinking about food right now, Nightshade Noodle Bar. I don't know if you guys have been there. It's in Lynn. It is super popular right now, like one of the best restaurants in Boston by every single every single popular metric, and like the Globe, like Boston.com, Boston Magazine, all say the same thing. So I want to shout that one out for sure. But a couple other exciting ones that we have are Little Radish Provisions. It's a brother and sister team, and they're opening an organic grocery store in Salem, which I'm really, really excited about. Another one is, sorry, my dog just walked in. Kin Tap and Rec Room is pretty exciting, because they are opening a what's it called, like a family-friendly tap room in Everett. So, you know, if you go to, you know, all these different bars and you see tons of like kids there and families, and you're kind of confused, like, why is a baby out? Well, it's because their parents need a beer. And so Kin is actually designed to like kind of have the same feel as a traditional like tap room, like you'd expect, but everything is safe for kids. And then we've got a couple other ones. We've got like a gaming cafe out in Holyoke run by a woman, and like a super diverse team. I'm going to go through our map and see who else there is to shout out, because we have more businesses than ever on the platform right now. And, you know, as a member of Mainvest, I'm not going to make any recommendations on different businesses or the validity of you know, any type of securities or anything like that. That's for all of you to decide. But there are some really exciting businesses, mostly because they're all kind of, you know, family owned, you know, really unique concepts, things that, you know, you don't necessarily see all the time, that you think about that and it's like, oh, like what a great thing in my community, what a great, you know, urban winery, or like family-friendly tap room, or like gourmet sandwich shop that, you know, it's not going to be that some huge developer comes and opens up the Olive Garden like we talk about in our video. Like, it's not those businesses. It's really unique ones. And so we have so many on the platform right now. So I'd encourage everybody to go consider becoming a local investor, because you can do so for as little as $100. Look at all of these businesses. If you care about female-owned businesses, you can toggle on our mainvest.com/businesses and look specifically for all of our female founders, if that's something that's important to you, as well as everything else. Those are some great ones that are on there that I'm excited to shout out, but there's so many more that deserve your attention, and a lot of small business owners in general that deserve your attention and your money and your investment.
Is there anything else on that page that you can, I actually haven't looked there, that you can toggle for if there's like certain things that you're looking for that align with your values?
Yeah. So you can look for female entrepreneurs, minority entrepreneurs, but also things like is this an existing business or a new business? Are they expanding to their second location? So that way, if it's important to you that you're, supporting like an existing and thriving business, you can look for those types of opportunities versus that's something that's a true startup. There's a couple different options. If you have feedback on the page or want to see something different, we're also always happy to hear that type of feedback. It's important for us to make sure that, especially first-time investors or people that are new to community investment, feel really comfortable, navigating the website and feeling confident in what they're getting themselves into with investment. So
I will say that when she says, if you have any questions or feedback, like Isabel is the most responsive person ever. When we produced this video together, we did it in 2.5 weeks.
Yeah, it was something kind of crazy.
It was crazy. And I mean, that can be done with something that doesn't necessarily, it can be done regardless, but it's like more easily done when you don't have to hire actors, get costumes, get studio space, get props, like
yeah,
all of the crazy things we had to do. And Isabel and I had our own private Slack channel where we just went back and forth, and it was so organized and so effective. Like, I could not have done this without you being my partner in this. So like,
yeah,
thank you for that too. You mean business when when you say that you care.
If you want an organized videographer who can get stuff done, work with Paige, because I was like, I don't know, is that too little time? I don't know, I've never done this before. And she was like, no, we'll be fine. It's like, okay.
But I couldn't have, and I've told you this before, I know you've heard this from me before, but like, I could not have made it happen if it wasn't for you. Because a big part of my job is, yes, I definitely have a can-do attitude, and like, I will make it happen in whatever time frame we need to make it happen. However, if I'm waiting on the client to get back to me with something, right, then there's like, so I appreciate that. And like, I do definitely have a can-do attitude, but like, couldn't do it without like awesome people like you. So I totally appreciate that. You're welcome. So we didn't get any questions flowing in. If anyone is watching the replay of this, feel free to add some questions down below. I'll be sure to tag Isabel if there are questions for Isabel. And if there are questions for me, I'll be sure to answer them. And Isabel, is there anything that you want to tell people about Mainvest, like where they can go if they've kind of sparked their interest?
Yeah, mainvest.com. You'll be able to see everything from there. You'll be able to browse different investment opportunities, view all the educational material. We try and make everything super transparent so that if this is your first time getting into investment, you should be able to walk away from our site understanding. If not, again, you can email me and I probably will get back to you very quickly. But yeah, Mainvest, follow us on social media. We're always trying to talk about the businesses that have been successful and the impact they've had on their community and things like that. So yeah, you can pretty much find us anywhere. And even if you don't decide to invest immediately, add a couple businesses to a watch list and get updates on them. Like I said, follow us on social media, just to find different ways to support small businesses.
Awesome. Yeah. And I know, Isabel, you just wrote a piece for the Boston Women's Market because Mainvest does have a partnership with Boston Women's Market. So if you want to read that piece where she talks a lot about the investment gap and about women investing and supporting women entrepreneurs, go over to the Boston Women's Market website, and it's in their section called The Notebook, right?
Mm-hmm. I think so. And if not, I can always link it too.
Yeah, we can throw the link down in the comments as well. It's really interesting, and there's a lot of really valuable information and eye-opening information in there, because I think we think so much about gender disparity, but when was the last time, we thought about it? Obviously, you think about this daily, but the rest of us thought about it in terms of investing. I just think it's something that people aren't necessarily giving a lot of thought to, which
for sure.
I think it's great that you are. So thank you. We'll hop off.
All right. Bye.